Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Emily Newberry, and I'm the Research and Scholarship Librarian at the University of Michigan Flint Thompson Library. And today we're going to be doing a series called Check Your Facts, and we're going to be talking about health misinformation. So you have probably experienced this. We are bombarded every day with health information, good or bad, from TV, from billboards, even from social media, from Google. As a consumer of all of this, it's really important to evaluate and to dispel, the bad things you're seeing from the good things, and to try to find accurate information to support the things that you're finding online that you're thinking about potentially implementing. So during COVID, especially, there was a huge explosion of misinformation out there. You probably saw things like this on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, or whatever else. It was basically saying that Bill Gates, they're going to alter your DNA with vaccines and all this kind of thing. It was very, very widespread, and caused a lot of people to potentially not take the COVID vaccine, which has a lot of scientific basis behind its efficacy, right? There was some work going on prior to this presentation that we're getting today. Facebook was doing things like saying that this is false information and that users had been flagged for sharing false information. Facebook has since kind of gone away from this fact-checking method they were doing to evaluate things. And so people are able to share posts now that may not have been able to share them before, and they're being evaluated by users instead. Even with the fact checkers, though, there were some, this is the Consumer Reports did a little small scale, I don't know if you say study, but they were basically creating misinformation to push through to Facebook to see if they would post it. They never posted these, but they got them approved through the approval. So even with those systems in place, there was still a lot of misinformation that was coming through. So by watching this presentation, I'm going to try to help you to evaluate what you're seeing. And the problem right now is, and as always, the landscape is always changing. So just always kind of be questioning what you're seeing. You can't necessarily trust the platforms to be doing that evaluation for you. So this presentation will help you kind of, to look at what you're seeing and judge for yourself if you think it's true. So a lot of the information that's out there is based on companies making profits, people making profits, people monetizing their feeds, or just some people want to create mistrust in the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry. So here's a comic that I found. Shirley Worrell, MD, is a user on Instagram. She's a physician who kind of talks about, this kind of thing in misinformation, and she also creates comics. But you can see here all of her qualifications: 4 years undergrad, 4 years medical school, 3 years internal medicine, et cetera, et cetera. I understand people's fears around statins, but they are one of the most widely used and studied drugs and are cornerstone for prevention of heart attacks, strokes, and more. They also have great anti-inflammatory effects, and they're derived from a fungus, so they're quite natural in origin. And while there are potential side effects, millions of people tolerate them all. And somebody off screen is saying, "Pharma shill." And she's like, huh? And that's sort of the landscape we're in right now, where experts who've spent a long time, creating their expertise and understanding the topics that they're talking about, are sort of being out-yelled by people who have dubious intentions and do not have the expertise to be speaking about these things. So as you're encountering these things, I'm going to be talking a little bit both about posts that you'll find, but also websites. So you'll kind of see that language, both language, but who is the content creator or who runs the site? So as you're looking through these things, we're going to go into each one of these questions more in depth. Who's the content creator and who runs the site? What's the purpose of the post or site? Who pays the creator or hosts the site? Is the health information high quality? How is the information selected and reviewed to make sure it's accurate? Where does it come from? Is it up to date? And how does it protect your personal information? I won't necessarily get into that last question, but if you are dealing with websites or things where you're inputting information, you're going to want to see how they're protecting your information so that they're not sharing medical information. So just keep that in mind too. This presentation, though, is mostly going to be about evaluating the things that you find online. So when we look at the people that are putting this stuff out there, when you watch it, when you read it, are they providing balanced and accurate information? A lot of times you'll see this, and I'll say this more than once, that people tend to use emotional language or language that instills fear or things like that. That is a huge tactic and should be a huge red flag when you're seeing posts. If it's making you feel an emotion, if it's making you feel angry, or if it's making you feel scared, you want to kind of question the content. Trust your gut on this. Do the creators have relevant credentials? You want to kind of check to see, and we'll get into this again too, but check their bio, check for information on them, see if they have the expertise, required to be able to speak authoritatively on these subjects. Most trustworthy places will provide you a way to contact them, to be in communication, to respond to questions or feedback. And then one big thing is if you see something and you're just not quite sure, it can be really hard to evaluate, a 20-second clip that you find on TikTok or something like that. Check the other content that the creator is putting out there, or that or go to the actual website to see the content, the quality of the other content they have. You might see, if you dive deeper into their accounts or threads or things like that, that you'll see, other information that'll kind of help you to evaluate the first thing that you're seeing. So yeah, always go to, if you're going to a website, go to the About Us page. And this kind of works for the bio too, for whoever's posting. The About Us page should tell you, like, what is the purpose of this organization or this purpose or this site? Like, what are they trying to do? Who are they? What is their end goal? And then if you are on a website, one of the things you'll want to do also is to check the extension. A rule of thumb generally is that .org, .gov, or .edu sites tend to be more reliable. In order to be, .org, you have to be a nonprofit. Government sites have to, be affiliated with the government and use those sorts of documentation to prove what they're saying. And .edu sites tend to have researchers that are posting things. Also check the site extension to see if it's from another country. Now, just because it's from another country doesn't necessarily mean it's bad, but it's something to check to see, because there are certain places that are more responsible for misinformation than others. So like the difference between .ru, which is Russia, or .ca, which is Canada. You can kind of see, based on the country, that can give you another kind of idea how trustworthy it could potentially be. So this is an interesting point in time right now, because as I just said, .gov sites tend to be or should be more reliable because they're using government reports and things like that. There's been a bunch of websites that have recently been taken down related to trans healthcare through various governmental sites. And then when that content was asked to be restored, headers were put up. I did not see this header as of yesterday when I looked, but this was what the header looked like on the HHS website last week. And it was basically talking about how these pages were promoting gender ideology and were inaccurate and disconnected from the biological reality that there are two sexes, male and female. So scientifically, we know that this is not true. So it's just it's a very strange time to be looking at these things, because just in the last 2 weeks, the information on government websites has been not reliably there or in the same place, or there's these notices. So again, it can be very, very confusing. And so just, try to do your best to dig deeper. So getting back into this, so what is the purpose of the content or the site when you watch it? Are they trying to inform you, to let you know something? Are they trying to sell you a product or service? Or is it to promote an ideology or an opinion of a person or group? So just always remember that true, trustworthy creators have one goal, and that's to give you good information that has available evidence and can be verified. You should be able to take the information that they're giving you, find it, and see, if what the original source says is true. And if you see that, it's a better indication that they're being, at least making the attempt to be trustworthy. So who's sponsoring the post or paying for the site? So this happens a lot where you'll see sites that are funded by ads. And that's fine if they're funded by ads, but they should be clearly marked as advertisements. So sometimes you'll see, like, on the side, or if you scroll down, like I feel like I see a lot of times when I'm on my Weather Channel app, if I scroll down, there'll be all these little videos at the bottom. Usually there's a little spot that says like ads or, advertised content. So if there's things that are showing up on the page, just make sure that, if it says it's an ad, clearly it should be an ad, and don't take that as, definite health information. You want to look out for posts and ads that are designed to look like neutral health information. That happens a lot where there is no indication that it's an ad, but you can tell that they're definitely trying to sell you something. And if a business pays for the content, the health information may favor that business. A lot of corporate players will conduct their own studies too. So they will conduct studies, pay for the studies, and these studies often will help to kind of support the claim that they're making. So even if there is a study that shows something, if a business paid for it, it could be, they could be being paid to promote that particular product. So this is an example of an oilable lay ad that was on television, and I came across it, and it's definitely something that made me think when I was doing this presentation prep, I was like, I have to put this in here. So let's watch this real quick.
Looking for a moisturizer that does more than just moisturize? Try Olay Regenerist for 10 benefits in every jar. Olay visibly firms, lifts, and smooths wrinkles by penetrating the skin to boost regeneration at the surface cellular level. Try Olay.
So this ad here, it at the very bottom has this heading that says MedFacts, and it doesn't appear to be an oilable lay ad because it appears to be from someplace called My MedFact. So My MedFacts, when I went to their actual site, they appear to be a marketing site that's claiming to be third party. Let's go over there and so we can see this. The only products that they are showing on this site, yeah, it's like telling you they're knowing the facts without the fluff. They only have 3 products that they are featuring, and they're all Procter & Gamble products. So there really isn't a whole lot of information about who they are or what they do. And when you go down to meet our hosts, there's only one, Rick Hastings. And in one of the sentences, like all our global presenters, she's helping simplify the science of complex healthcare products to help you buy better. And as you saw, there was a different host on the other page. So this is just, it seems like sort of a mess to me. It was definitely an ad that they were kind of making look like an independent medical healthcare or health consumer organization is promoting. So very questionable. So when we are evaluating this stuff, we want to see if the health information is high quality, right? We want to see that the people that are talking about this, they're not promoting one treatment over another. You should be seeing information that kind of lets you know the options out there and how this stacks up against those other options. If you're looking at articles or you're looking at social media posts don't tend to do this, but if you're looking at an article and the people are talking about the studies that they've used to support what they're talking about, these are some general rules of thumb. So findings based on systematic reviews or meta-analyses are better than those based on a single study. And I'll get into that in the next slide a little bit more. But single studies can never confirm or deny the efficacy of a treatment, right? Like a single study may have, it may be biased. There may be, just outlier effects that happened in the course of the study. Multiple studies are needed for verification that an actual intervention works, right? So if they're pointing to one single study, that can be a red flag because again, it could be sponsored by the company. It could, have some of these bias issues. And then sometimes you'll see that they're pointing to studies that are based on animals. And while animal studies are useful and they can help us to bring these treatments or interventions to human populations, we really want to see studies that are based on human participants in order to verify that they're going to be effective for humans. So I just want to talk about this real quick. This is getting a little bit into the systematic review piece of it. So this is what's called the evidence pyramid, and this is used in evidence-based research. So if you have any experience with looking at articles or finding scholarly articles online, this is sort of the order in which you'll see them. So at the very bottom, you'll see expert opinions, background information. That's, it can be very useful, but it's only the opinion of one person, right? So, you can use that as sort of a background to base your decisions on. Then you have this section with, as you can see on the side, unfiltered information. So that includes things like studies, cohort studies, randomized control trials, and randomized control trials are the things, where they take people, give them the treatment, don't necessarily let them know if they're in the control group or the experimental group to see if, if it provides a change. But those are called unfiltered because They have, it's just a one-off study. They had one population, one result. And as I said before, results of single studies, can be erroneous, or they can, contradict, the other studies that have been done. So at the very top of this pyramid is what's called filtered information. And at the very top is systematic reviews. So what systematic reviews do, and this pyramid doesn't actually show meta-analyses, which should be like the very, very top of the pyramid. Systematic reviews collect all of the studies that have been done on a particular topic. So they're trying to compare apples to apples. So any study that's been done, let's say on homeopathic treatments for respiratory infections, they'll take all the studies that have been done on that, and they'll see what the findings were from all of those studies. So you get a much broader view of the actual landscape of that issue, because you can see, if they found 10 studies and 8 showed something was effective and 2 didn't, that's better than just seeing one study where you're not sure, what the other studies may have shown. So systematic reviews can really kind of help you see what the actual evidence is behind these things. And then the meta-analysis, which is, like I said, even higher, that is then when they can take studies that have statistical information and sort of rerun those statistics to even get higher levels of evidence based on the statistics found in those articles. So that's a lot to say, but basically systematic reviews are just a really great source of information for these kinds of claims that something works. If you see an article or place is linking to something called a systematic review, you can be more comfortable that it's been evaluated with other studies to see that it actually is the way, the findings from that particular research. So here's an example. So this is from PubMed, which is a governmental site that provides articles that are from in the healthcare. This is an article called Homeopathic Preparations for Preventing and Treating Acute Upper Respiratory Tract Infections in Children, a systematic review and meta-analysis. So if I read an article that linked me to this article, seeing that it's a systematic review and a meta-analysis, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. I could actually open the PDF and read it, but I'm just going to stick here on the description here. They show the abstract. So, and some people may be a little bit uncomfortable reading these, highly scientific papers, but a lot of times on the actual database page, or even just in the bottom of the article, you don't need to read the entire thing. If you can see what the results were, read the other thing to see what, how the study was done. But down here, it, will usually kind of break everything down for you in a more easy to digest way. So the results of this study were that they looked at 4 studies, examined treatment for prevention of ARTIs. 4 studies involved homeopaths individualized treatment versus 4 with non-individualized treatments. 3 studies had high risk of bias in at least one domain. All studies with low risk of bias showed no benefit from homeopathy, and trials with uncertain and high risk of bias reported beneficial effects. So this is kind of breaking it down to like how trustworthy were the articles that showed certain things. But the outcome is prevention trials showed no significant outcomes or reoccurrence of ARTIs. No serious events were reported. But you can kind of see here that there were a lot of issues with these articles that went through the homeopathic treatment of these upper respiratory tract infections, and that there really isn't any evidence. So you might have seen an article that mentioned one of these, said like, homeopathic treatments help upper respiratory tract infections, and they point to one of those articles. But this article is letting that article that you read may have been one of the one that had high risk of bias. So, coming in and trying to find the actual evidence, you don't have to read the entire article and go through all the charts and graphs, but by looking at the actual results from the article, you can kind of see, does this sound realistic, or does it sound like it's probably fudged or, misinformed? So again, if you're actually on the page, or if you're in a post, are they linking to the actual studies that they're referring to? You definitely want to be aware of dramatic writing, promises of cures, and claims. Like, you'll probably see these a lot, like, this is a cure your doctor doesn't want you to know about. Your doctors do have, they do have an interest in keeping you healthy. And most of these things are kind of off the wall treatments that, if people had been doing this for centuries and centuries, we would have eradicated these diseases already, right? So those could all be signs of a health scam. So just, again, kind of trust your gut as you're reading these things. If you're like, wow, that sounds really great, a lot of times it's too good to be true if there's like no side effects and all these different promises that it's going to cure these hard to cure problems just by like, doing something simple. Again, seeing how the information is selected and reviewed, check that About Us page. This particular page is more about websites than about social media posts. But if you go to the About Us page of a site that's supposed to be about healthcare, you want to see, do they have an editorial board of health experts? Is there a content review process? Like, are they taking these, articles that are coming in and reviewing them for accuracy? Do they have a selection policy for content? And then you want to see the information about the writer's qualifications. So a lot of times they'll share that with you either at the bottom of the article, or if you, hyperlinked to the author's bio. You want to see what experience they have or what their credentials are. And then again, hopefully at the bottom of the article, if it's, referencing these various things, they'll either hyperlink it in the article, or they will share at the bottom links or a references page to the item that they're talking about. And then you also just want to make sure that when you're seeing these things, that they're up to date, right? I mean, things kind of come through and will make the rounds years after it was originally posted. You'll see posts about, vaccines causing, chronic illness and stuff. They kind of will recirculate and rear their heads again. So see when the original stuff was posted. See if there's, more current information than, if something was posted in 2017, it's been a while, like things may have changed, and you want to see what the current status is of these things that you're looking at. So I'm just going to show you a few examples. We'll take a look for a second at some of these. So probably you've noticed on any of these that mental health issues have really become a big content area in TikTok and Instagram. It seems to me I see a ton on ADHD and just random users telling you about, I tried this, I was on medication for forever, and this worked so much better. And a lot of these treatments, right, they need to be taken in conjunction with each other, or like, that it's not always a one size fits all. And a lot of these posts seem to tell you, like, if you do this, it will fix your ADHD, or it will, help you to, whatever. It's always very like high promises of a single cure for these things. So I found a small study from a health, actually, let me bring this over here, from a healthcare provider site. And they basically did a study of 500, sorry, let me scroll up to the top here. 500 TikTok videos that had hashtags of like mental health, or hashtag mental health awareness, things like that. And they found, like I said, this is a small study, 500 videos that had these hashtags, but 83.7% had misleading information according to these healthcare providers. And only 1% had a disclaimer saying that they didn't have, the credentials to be saying this, or talked about what their credentials were. You can kind of see here the information on people with credentials, that sort of thing. But scroll down here because this is right here. Yeah, the advice misleading videos per condition related to mental health. They found of the videos they watched, 100% of the ADHD videos they watched had misleading information. So you can see it's pretty egregious. And I'm gonna scroll down really quickly because this again, only 1% of the videos contain a disclaimer. So, no one's going to really talk about their lack of qualification probably. So you should just always assume if you see somebody that doesn't share their qualifications, that they probably don't have the qualifications to be talking about this. Okay, this is another one that these videos were taken down. A lot of these videos were taken down, but there was a whole thing about people juicing potatoes and drinking potato juice for strep throat. And I actually won't play this video, but this woman shares three treatments that will help basically replace antibiotics by drinking a juiced potato. So
Three
that's
powerful juices that help to get.
we don't need to actually watch it, but The potato juice thing, here's an article from poison control. So this is a poison control article where we can see sort of what we hope to see when we're seeing information like this online. You know, can potato juice cure infections? They basically say here that there's no proven benefits on this. There's no evidence to show this. They kind of talk about, you know, all these different information about potatoes. Can potatoes make you sick? And some, you know, green sprouted potatoes, there actually are compounds in it that are unhealthy and that can actually cause you to become sick. So at the very bottom of this article, we see here that this was written by Kelly Johnson Arbor, MD, a medical toxicologist. So that's kind of what we want to see here. If we click over, we can see her bio, see a little bit more information about her. And they give some, you know, some other information, some other articles, things like that. And then at the bottom, you can see the references that they use. So these are all clickable. You can go out and read these different references that they use to support this article. So this is much more informative than that woman with no, you know, credentials making potato juice and drinking it to cure strep throat, which can turn into, you know, a very dangerous thing for small children. So here's a couple other examples of articles that inform. These are both articles talking about TikTok and mental health, but they are written in the same kind of ways that we can see. You know, this is an article. This is actually .co.uk, so that's from the UK. But we can see here this article is talking about mental health and TikTok and people using TikTok to self-diagnose or to use this to help, you know, to help to get medical information, right? We can see here the author, they give a little bit of information about him. As we scroll through the article, there's a lot of statistics in here. And if we get to the bottom, you can see again, they share their references. So you can go out and you can read these other journal articles or websites or things that they're sharing the information about. Here's another one from a site called Healthline. So here you can see at the top here that it's been fact checked. And if you click on this, it tells you about their editorial process, which is really great. So you can kind of see how they're going about maintaining their standards and providing accuracy, monitoring. They continually monitor their posts. So you can see that. You can see that this is written by this author and it was fact checked by this person. So you can see who they are and again, read their bios. But this is the kind of thing that you want to see. You know, they're linking to the sources. Katrine Wallace is somebody who they interviewed. Here they link to her information. That's the kind of information that you want to see when you're looking at health information. You want to be able to, you know, get to where these people are and find out, you know, if you should be listening to them. So there's another, you know, a fair number of fact-checking sites that you can go to. These aren't all health care, but they will have some of the larger, you know, if it's sort of spreading out into there. So Snopes is a site that does fact-checking third-party site. It's been around for a long time. Factcheck.org. PolitiFact tends to be more politically, but as we know, health issues do make their way into the political arena. So you can check PolitiFact for that. And then the News Literacy Project is, it's a project that basically is going out and trying to teach people about how to be, how to have information literacy when they're seeing these different articles, things like that. So all these sites have places where you can go to actually look to see, you know, if something is true or not, but they also have good information for how to fight misinformation and how to engage when you do find misinformation. You know, just by calling it out and by trying to get people to understand that, you know, these things are potentially dangerous when you see them. And then if you're looking for, you know, freely available health sites that are reputable, the Mayo Clinic, which is a large, very reputable health system, they have, we click through here, they have, you know, a huge database of conditions, diseases. If you're interested in looking up, you know, something like hair loss, you could, you know, look up whatever in here and it'll give you, you know, reputable health information from the Mayo Clinic. Medline Plus similarly has something that's through the government, and then other local hospital sites. So obviously the University Hospital System, the University of Michigan has a similar thing where you can kind of go and read about different conditions and treatments. So to summarize this, there is just a lot of misinformation out there about health, and unfortunately, I think you have to be skeptical of just about everything that you encounter these days. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I can't say that enough. Trust your gut. You'll kind of know if, if you're, like I said, if you're feeling an emotion, they're probably trying to influence you in a way. You want to be reading things that are very even and don't seem to have bias. You want to verify what you're hearing. Like if you're thinking of trying one of these interventions or one of these things that you've read about or seen, talk to your healthcare provider, or, like I said, go to look for the original source of information to see if it shows promise. And then you can always look for the original studies on a topic using PubMed, as I showed, or Google Scholar. They will have articles on these topics that are scholarly and should have, accurate, reputable information. So with that, I ended the presentation. If there's any questions, please let me know, and you can contact me. Here's my contact information. And I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for watching this recorded webinar. Find upcoming webinars to register for at libcal.umflint.edu.